G'day guys, welcome back to a new episode of the Bounty Riders podcast, episode 57, and not the huge amount of an eventful week on the footy field, a lot of stuff happening off of it. We have the on-field and off-field stuff to talk about today. Let's not waste any more of your time, let's roll the intro and get straight into the new episode. And then Rankin from the pocket, don't tell me, Isaac Rankin!
Yeah.
He's just got the license for a brothel.
Well, I think Gather Round's going to be AFL. I think this is next season.
It's at the handle at the back. Nick Dankos to get the pies home. He's done it. So new episode, of course, brother joins me again, Jack. Big week of football off the field as well as on it. We're recording this on Monday early afternoon, so we've got one more game to play in Geelong versus Hawthorn, but of course you guys will know the result of that by the time this comes out on Wednesday morning. Pretty big weekend of football. We obviously saw Richmond cause a big upset against the Swans, and Melbourne good win against Port Adelaide as well. Fremantle good win against Adelaide, and it sets up for a pretty big gather round next week.
Yeah, and Collingwood coming off their first win of the season.
Yeah, so that was big for them as well, and Brisbane obviously have to go. You'd think that they would win against North Melbourne.
Well, you'd think so. Yeah.
Maybe they won't. We'll talk about it more in the AFL tips later on. But let's talk about a couple of breaking news stories. The first one I want to talk about is just, you probably guys have already seen this by now, but Wayne Miller, who hurt himself on Friday night against Fremantle, has been confirmed that he'll be out for the rest of the year, which is really bad news for the Crows. It was a right patella tendon, which is actually the same injury that actually happened in his left knee in 2021. So this is now happened to his right knee. So that's really disappointing for the Crows. Not a lot of other breaking news at this stage. We did see at this point Win Hager receive a one-match ban for his bump on the Essendon player. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think it wasn't even a bump. He tried to get out of the way and accidentally collected him with his hip.
Yeah.
I think that was pretty piss poor. I think that will be overturned. I wouldn't be surprised. Obviously, the Liam Baker situation as well with his knock on Sunday afternoon against the Swans. He is incredibly lucky he did not hit Melican in the head.
Yeah.
I don't know how anyone can defend that act. He clearly wasn't going for the football. He saw he wasn't going to get contact with the footy and then just went to go and hit Melican on the way down, and he was very lucky he didn't hit him in the head.
Yeah.
How did you feel about that whole... Because you saw the replay of it. Did you watch the game live or...?
I didn't see the hit live. I watched the last bit of the last quarter, but... yeah, I saw it and I thought, that's got to be Weeks. Even though he didn't collect him,
I think that he'll get a fine because...
Yeah, he'll get a fine now, but if the AFL really want to take this seriously, it's the act that he did.
Yeah.
It's not the fact that he collected him not in the head. Like, that's the act you don't want to see on the footy field, because if he collects him in the head, that's worse than Peter Wright that literally happened last week.
Yeah.
You can't... That's not...
It's not what we need to see in the game.
No.
And I love how when there's... I saw that post... Someone posted, I think it was Fox Footy posted, the Liam Baker incident. And the first comment's like, oh, back in the 90s, that was tough footy. Yeah, well, back in the... I hate that argument. That is such an annoying argument. Because fucking, that's a 40-year-old who watches footy now. And if that happened to his kid... would fucking be ropeable.
Yeah.
But because it's the footy field and it's his team, he's like, oh, back in my day, you were allowed to punch people in the face and it didn't matter.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, I think we've evolved a little bit past in the last 30 years to realise that is not an action we need to see on the football field. You fucking moron. Anyway, we haven't seen at this stage, recording this now, if Liam Baker will be reprimanded for that. I think he'll get a fine. I would like to see him get a week, and that's not just me talking as a Swans fan. I don't want to see that act in the game.
No.
If someone's going for the football... going for a mark, whether that be Lewis Melican or fucking Alex Pearce from Fremantle, any player on the football field, he shouldn't have to worry about another player coming from the other direction and not even looking at the footy, going for the body and trying to cause injury.
Yeah.
He was very lucky, Liam Baker, that he didn't. Yeah. Now, you guys have probably seen the review of the round, and I give him huge praise, Liam Baker, because he had a really good game of footy. But he's got to pull that out of his game. And so do all the players in the game. You don't need to see that on the footy field at all.
No.
Fucking stupid. Anyway, speaking of the round, I did mention a little bit in the review, but someone needs to call out the umpiring standard this season. It has been atrocious. And usually we always complain about the field umpires because of their stupid decisions. But we've got to go and talk about the goal umpiring and the boundary umpiring in this season so far, because it has been atrocious.
It's got worse. Somehow it's got even worse. That now it's affecting all the umpiring.
Yeah. We've seen throughout the whole round, it was just a terrible standard of umpiring. We saw players completely dropping the ball. Yesterday in the Swans game, Chad Warner late in the game dropped the ball dead on the ground. It didn't get pinned for it. Richmond should have got a free kick. We saw the Nick Vlosten situation with Tom Papley, 30 seconds to go. Tom Papley did everything he possibly could to avoid the head, and somehow the umpire still paid a high free kick. We've obviously seen all the boundary umpiring situations. We've seen, I think it's 4 situations now in the season so far where it's been blatantly out of bounds on the full, and the umpires just paid a mark.
And I'm sick of the boundary umpire literally going like 5 metres to his right, off near to the fence, when the ball's 10 metres ahead of him. It's like, why are you so wide?
Yeah.
If you're looking wide and you're looking straight on, of course it looks in.
Yeah.
But if you're on the boundary line, it's not. That's
You'll
not
get a good view of what it is.
You get a good view of where it is. It's like, to be honest, put your job on the line, and if you get collided, deal with it.
Because your job is to fucking be taking the contact if you have to.
Yeah, the goal umpires take the contact when there's a pack when the ball's on the line.
Yeah,
they get mauled by them.
Yeah, and let's not keep the goal umpires out of it either, because since last season, obviously with the Ben Keys situation, the umpire making the wrong decision, which is outright wrong, they have dropped their standard as well.
Yeah.
Now, there was 2 incidents, I believe, in the St Kilda game where the ball was clearly a goal, and the umpire came with their decision of, like, obviously when the field umpire has to ask for the review, they have to ask for the umpire's call. And the goal umpire got it wrong twice, completely wrong.
Yeah.
Like, wasn't even close to the correct decision. Now, luckily the review was there to reverse it, but there is no way in hell. There was one instance when the ball was about half a metre away from the defender's hand, and he called it a goal. Luckily, the review was there to call it. But how can the goal umpire be that far wrong? Your job is to be there on that line and make that big call.
Yeah.
And granted, he called for the review, so the right decision was made. But 2, from the same goal umpire as well, making blatant decisions, both against Essendon. So it was a goal for Essendon. That was going to be... it was a goal for St Kilda, I believe, The 2 goals that were going to go through. But I can't even remember who it was. I believe one team got it twice. The same team got, like, overall decisions that were blatant goals that were called behinds. Called touch, I believe. And the goal umpire made 2 completely wrong decisions. So it's just getting to the standard where you don't know why they're getting it so wrong. They asked for a 4th umpire to help them out, and it has not helped at all.
No. The field umpire for what's the point? 3 of them can't figure it out. The 4th one just makes it more complicated, and they still can't figure it out.
Yeah, and the amount of times that we've seen umpires out of the area call a decision and then just making it wrong, it just makes it convoluted.
Yeah.
We don't need 4 goal. If we need 4 field umpires, fine, but make your decision right. You should be making it right. I'm not saying you need to make it right 100% of the time, but there is a huge amount of fucking wrong decisions going away from the game every single week, and it is making the game so much harder to watch.
Yeah,
I am not to that point where Wayne Carey sits on his podcast and says, if Peter Wright gets weeks for that decision, then I am not watching it. Okay, for 4 weeks, because that's just him trying to get a fucking good clip on TikTok to go viral, which it did.
Yeah,
but it is so hard to watch because the umpires are changing the results of games.
Yeah, yeah.
Who knows if that Tom Papley decision turns out to be a goal for Sydney? Who knows if that decision against Chad Warner, that should have gone against Chad Warner in the game, doesn't get a goal for Richmond and they get another goal?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well, you look at Good Friday game, Carlton and North Melbourne. They got 6 free kick, 6 50-metre penalties North Melbourne gave away.
Yeah.
4 of them led to goals, and then I think out of the 30 free kicks that the Blues got, I think 8 goals came from them.
Yeah.
That changes the result when the game was... Yes, alright, they got blown out by 50 points. But if the game's 3 points, that's the result of the game.
Yeah. Now, I watched that game as well, and there were a lot of decisions that were right, and the 50-metre penalties deserved to be paid.
Yes.
But there were quite a few of them that were not there.
No.
But I think I noticed something throughout the weekend as well. The first couple of games of the weekend were over-umpired. Like, they were too busy focusing on small little issues that didn't have to fucking be an issue. And the free kick count was above 50.
Yeah.
So someone talked to the umpiring people, who knows who it was, I don't know. But then the free kicks just were not being paid at all. Then they just went the whole complete 180. And in the Swans game, the umpire was not paying holding the ball at all for either side. I'm not sitting here saying Sydney got robbed. I'm saying both sides of the coin here, both teams were not getting free kicks.
Yeah. And the one rule that I just don't get is when they say dropping the ball, illegal disposal. They don't pay that anymore.
Yeah.
They say, oh, it was knocked out in the tackle. Bullshit. Bullshit. It wasn't. He held it on for 5 seconds and it knocks out in the contest. Oh well, that's okay. Play on.
Yeah.
This is why this slinging action happens for the tackles now, and they get paid dangerous tackle.
Yeah.
Because they're right. All right. Well, the ball's not getting taken out. I have to sling them to the ground for the umpire to call ball up. And then they pay a dangerous tackle. Then that player gets suspended for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Because he's concussed the guy. It's like if you pay the ball straight away within 3 or 4 seconds, you don't get that.
Yeah. Players don't sit there for 10 seconds holding a player because then they're expecting to throw them to ground to try and then get the ball out.
The umpire's point of view would be, oh well, we don't want to pay ball up because then it congests the field. I don't give a shit. If you're gonna take the care of the players into it, you might as well have a lot more stoppages than having 50 people get concussed in a week.
Yeah. No, I just think the umpiring standard this season has been dropped off considerably, and this isn't to do with like, oh, this team's getting more free kicks and that sort of stuff. I'm not trying to make that point, but there were I watched all the games this weekend, and the umpiring standard has been fucking dreadful, and it needs to be called out. I'm so sick of hearing, oh, the umpiring like the umpires can't be ridiculed and all that sort of bullshit. They're doing their best. It's like, if that's their best, they should not be on the football field. At the top stage, at the top level, if they can't umpire the game properly, then should be called out upon.
And especially when you got 4 field umpires now.
Yeah.
And
it's gone over to the boundary umpires. It's gone over to the goal umpires.
Yeah.
And the standard has dropped considerably. And I don't know why. I feel like they get a lot of flack, but I feel like it's deserved. The Channel 7 commentary never call it out.
No.
The Fox Footy commentators will call it out, but it's a little bit lighthearted. It should be flat out called out. That decision was wrong. They've made a mistake, and the only time it's happened is once with a goal umpire last year, because it was a decision that obviously changed the result. But there are so many decisions in a game of footy that happens that the umpires just fucking change the way the game is played. The momentum is taken away, sucked away because of a stupid umpiring decision.
Yeah.
Like the Jack Higgins situation last week with the Collingwood game. In Collingwood. That was blatantly out of bounds. Collingwood were coming back. That goal counts, stops the momentum.
Yeah.
And trust me, I don't like to protect Collingwood. But fuck me, that changed the complete complexion of the game.
Yeah, and
that killed the game off.
You could see, even in the crowd, you could hear it once it went through. Like, he just stopped. The Collingwood fans just absolutely blew up, and then they
sucked the life out of it.
It sucked it. It sucked out of a good game of football, that was.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
And I don't believe Collingwood deserved to win that game. I think St Kilda were the better side. And who knows? Maybe that gets balled in, and in the next stoppage, St Kilda get the goal. But that's an umpiring decision that stops the momentum for a team, and it just kills the game.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I just had to talk about that this week because the umpiring standard in this game right now is a fucking joke.
And since no one else in the actual AFL media are going to talk about it, what?
Yeah, the biggest podcast. Not AFL media needs to talk about it. I just think as well that it's not going to take me away from the game. But I don't need to hear fucking Wayne. How about we ask about your decision, Wayne, about how you feel about the umpiring in the fucking game? Why don't you come out and give us a fucking great TikTok clip about the AFL umpiring situation instead of something about Peter Wright where he's about some fucking bullshit suspension where, let's be honest, everyone knew he was going to get weeks for that.
Yeah.
And you sit there and say, I'm not gonna watch the football. Good on you. How about you fucking complain about something which everyone has a bad opinion on, which is the fucking umpiring in this game at the moment. Because it's a fucking joke. And I don't think it's that. I know other people say in their sport it's worse. I don't see how. it could possibly be this bad.
Yeah.
I understand in like soccer and that the VAR is very contentious, but I'm not saying they should bring in that sort of stuff for every single umpiring decision. That would just slow down the game. It would be fucking terrible. But fucking hell, there needs to be something.
Yeah.
Because it is fucking atrocious. I know they're talking about the next couple of years they're going to add the little microchip in the ball to stop that sort of situation. That if it goes out of bounds, it will be known. But until then, something needs to change.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on because there's a very serious topic that needs to be talked about here. Obviously, this is much worse than the umpiring situation, and this is a little bit out of the football space, but it has happened to an AFL player. The Eddie Betts racial situation that happened throughout the week. Now, we don't talk about this a lot on the channel because we try to keep it a little bit lighthearted, but I believe this needs to be talked about. If you haven't seen it, basically, a person, I don't know who it was, hopefully they get caught because they drove in their car because they're a fucking moron and a coward. They drove past Eddie Betts' house at night. Can't remember what day it was. I think it was either Monday or Tuesday. And just yelled out hard R N-word out their car 3 times and it drove away. Eddie Betts' kids were in the backyard playing basketball or something. I think they're playing basketball.
Yeah, basketball,
yeah. And it needs to be talked about because it's just fucking atrocious. This guy, whoever did it, is a fucking loser. Absolute fucking stain on society. And I hope that he does get caught.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't want to hear the freedom of speech argument because that's just bullshit. But on this specific issue, I mean, but that was just fucking atrocious that he would be that cowardly to drive past Eddie Betts' house, anyone's house, and yell out a racial slur.
Yeah.
In front of kids.
Yeah.
And that's not even just on Eddie Betts' family as well, but there was a huge community of a bunch of houses around the area that obviously would have heard it. They probably have kids in it and have to listen to this absolute fucking stain on society yell out a fucking racial slur to, I'm assuming it was at Eddie Betts.
Yeah.
Like trying to he was probably trying to just make it, oh, I'm pretty tough, bro. Look at me. And he probably didn't expect that a camera would have caught it. Because I'm assuming he wouldn't have done it. If he was scared enough to not actually come out and do it himself, he just drives in his car, then he's a pretty fucking cowardly person. But it's just absolutely fucking atrocious. And I do agree with Eddie Betts putting it out there and showing how bad it can be.
Yeah.
So I don't have an issue with that. There was some fucking idiot in the comments saying, oh, you should have phased out the word. And it should, look, it's not, obviously, don't say the word, obviously. But I think it should be shown because it does show that it does happen. Yeah. And a lot of people around the country probably don't know how bad it can get. Because they obviously don't have the indigenous culture, they don't have the darker skin either. Yeah. So they probably don't have to deal with it very much. But I saw that clip and it fucking shocked me.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
I was shocked because we do have indigenous culture. We do have an indigenous background, me and my brother. But we obviously don't have the darker skin, so it doesn't affect us as much. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
it doesn't.
Yeah.
So we obviously don't know how bad it can truly be. And that sort of situation happening is fucking atrocious. And I hope they can find some CCTV footage of the number plate of the guy. And he should be fucking arrested for harassment of someone. Because that is not fucking right at all.
No.
So I hope that guy fucking gets what he deserves. I'm not saying he should be fucking killed for it, but he should definitely be punished for it. Yeah. He's a fucking wanker. And to do that in front of a house, to do that at all is fucking stupid. And you're a fucking wanker and you fucking suck. But to do that in front of kids and fucking just trying to, I don't even know if you're trying to act tough or you're just trying to act like a fucking hero. I don't know what you're trying to do. But you're a fucking loser. Yeah. And you suck. So fuck you, bro. And it's good to see that the majority of the people who saw the clip were saying that that's fucking wrong and the standing of Eddie Betts. There were a couple of stupid comments that are like, oh, this is fucking this and that. Oh, you know, why are you posting this? And all that sort of bullshit. Like, fuck off, bro. Yeah. Fuck off. Let him post it. Let him fucking show the fucking... Because that's the thing. The amount of times that if Eddie Betts came out and said this happened... and didn't post anything. The amount of people who would have came out of the woodwork and said, "Oh, this isn't true." Yeah, it's like fuck off, bro. So he's wrong if he does. He's wrong if he doesn't.
Yeah, that same person would have been like, "Oh, well, where's the footage then?"
Yeah, it's so just fucking absolutely ridiculous. And hopefully not only 80 Betts and his family are okay, but hopefully the people who were affected by it around the neighbourhood as well, hopefully are okay as well.
Yes.
Because I don't know if they're Indigenous as well, but even just have to deal with some fuckwit. I mean, Euro's a little bit like tentative or whatever when you hear some fuckwit like zoom down your fucking down your street at 3 a.m. in the morning. So to have that happen to you, it's just fucking atrocious. Hopefully everyone's okay.
Yeah, and you should feel safe to be in your own home.
Exactly. You should have to deal with that.
Especially with your kids around.
Exactly. Like Eddie Betts probably has to deal with that sort of stuff. Maybe not on the daily, but he would have to deal with it quite a lot. Probably dumb fucks are buddy messaging him saying that stupid racist stuff. Yeah. It happens with AFL players all the time.
Yeah.
So I would assume a pretty prominent Indigenous player would probably have to see it quite a lot as well. Who's just out of his career. So I would imagine it would happen, but to happen in front of his kids, his kids would have had to witness that. His wife had to deal with it as well, and just the people in the general area. Fucking gutless act.
Yeah.
And hopefully the guy gets fucking caught with what he's done because he's a fucking loser. Anyway, let's move into a little bit lighter news. So there's been some news coming out throughout the week about the AFL potentially adding more games to the season. So at the moment they currently play 23 games. Is that right? Yeah, with one bye. Yeah, so there's currently 24 rounds, but they play 23 games because you obviously have the one bye.
Yeah,
or two if you play stupid.
Then stupid.
Anyway, you basically play 23. There used to be 22 a couple of years ago, and then it's obviously been lowered since. There has been some talk that the AFL are thinking about 24 game season. I wouldn't be surprised about this, especially if we have the Tasmania team come in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
The coaches and so it says here the coaches aren't fans of it, and it's unknown if the players are that happy about it. I don't think it will happen very soon because the list spots are getting smaller, so it's very hard to look. We've seen like injury issues happen for clubs, and then them have to go to the mid-season draft because they need players.
Yeah.
We obviously saw, a couple of years ago with West Coast, they weren't even fielding a team in their waffle side because they were having to list players who were injured on their emergency list just to fill a full squad in the week.
Yeah.
So I can't see it happening. I would love it. Like, obviously. I think every AFL fan would love to see more games. I just don't know if it would happen.
And the fact is that I think Ken Hinkley came out and said that we can have more games if you lower the game time to 100
I think it's
minutes instead of 120 minutes.
Yeah, I think that would be an interesting take.
Yeah,
But again, that just makes it...
I just think that the fixture's already so stupid that if you're going to add more games, you either add more games to accommodate for playing each team twice, or you accommodate it to play each team once, or you just leave it where it is. And
because, I mean, let's be honest, they're not going to have, 18 teams now, 17 games each. You probably have to play your rival twice. Yeah. At the very least. So, maybe even 3 times if they're doing that. So, you'd probably 35 plus games a year. That's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, you see how much in soccer they play. They obviously play a lot shorter. They play 90 minutes. But the soccer is up and down, up and down. Footy is a little bit different to that. But I could not see any more than... We currently have 23. I hope it doesn't go up any more on the player side of it when Tasmania come into it, because I think that makes it a little bit more even.
Yeah.
Because you're playing every team relatively twice. But at the moment, with the likes of teams like West Coast and North Melbourne, it makes it pretty unfair if you play them twice.
Because as we saw last year with the Coleman medals.
Yeah, well, exactly. Because Charlie Curnow and Taylor Walker were the top 2 in the Coleman, but they kicked bags of goals against West Coast and North.
Yeah.
Which are able to increase their scoring rate, which is just unfair. And also Carlton, they had both of them teams, twice, and they flogged them, which increased their percentage, which increased their wins.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying they didn't deserve to make finals because they had a great run, but also that did turn the momentum of their season having to go against West Coast. Yeah. They flogged them, and then that got them the confidence to then go on to the rest of the season. So it is a little bit convoluted. It's unfair. Well, I don't know. Unfair seems like a big word to say, but if they're going to add more games, unless you maybe that's what they could do. They could just let everyone play 2 extra games against those 2 teams to make it even. Everyone can play against North Melbourne and West Coast. That's fair enough for the next couple of years until they can get better. Maybe that would be the way to go. So every single team can get increase their goals, like the KD and COD or something. Yeah. Maybe that's a good idea. I don't know. I don't, as a fan, I want to see it. I'd be loving to have more games in the season, let the AFL season go longer, obviously, because those 6 months where there's no football, It's very hard to get through. Like, you know, it's very. I can't deal with it. I suck. I have to wait for the cricket, and it's like, oh, it's only because it's on at this point. And the soccer, you know, it's on like 3 a.m. I don't want to watch the A-League.
Yeah.
So fucking, you know, the A-League doesn't start really until December or something anyway. So as a supporter, I'd love it, but at the end of the day, I don't really think it's a good idea for the players' sake, unless they do change how it happens. And maybe if we do have the 19th team come in with Tasmania, and you would inevitably think there would be a 20th team, I would feel like it, that would give everyone 19 games.
Yeah.
And then 20 with a rival game twice. Maybe even let you play your rival 3 times. I don't know. Maybe that would be an idea. Give a little bit of an advantage to Fremantle and whoever North Melbourne's rival is. Who is that at this point? I feel like it's pretty hard to pick. Would it be Western Bulldogs or St Kilda?
I don't know. Probably whatever the lowest membership average is for the
Yeah.
next Victorian team.
Yeah, I think that would be St Kilda, or the Bulldogs. So maybe that would be the option. Anyway, I don't know. I feel like just as a fan, it'd be great. But anyway, let's move on. We'll talk about the Sydney Swans. Not so much the game last week. We talked about that more in the review. But at the moment, and this is something I don't agree with. At the moment, the Sydney Swans are trying to claim that they have won 10 premierships. So it is reported on Fox Footy that when we talk about how many premierships that the Swans have won, they tried to claim it's 10, reigniting the debate of like how many premierships can someone claim. So the Swans are trying to claim that the VA/FA premierships are they should claim them. Sort of like how, because before the VFL started in 1897, the VA/FA was a thing, and South Melbourne won 5 premierships in those years. I think it was in 1874 so 1874 is when the Swans or South Melbourne were a formed club, established, yeah. And in those 23 years between the VFL and them being established, they won 5 premierships. As a supporter, nowadays, I don't think you can claim those premierships at all. I think that's unfair. But I would go one step further and say that you should not be claiming your premierships in the VFL.
No.
I don't think that the VFL clubs should, like, the Collingwood should be claiming they've won 16, that Carlton should be claiming 16, Essendon, Hawthorn, Geelong, whoever, should be claiming their premierships at all at this point. In the record books as well, and like claiming, sweet 16 for Collingwood. It's like, bro, who cares if you won in an 8-league comp? I'm sorry, but if that's the case, then Port Magpies can claim it for Port Power having their premierships. That's unfair. So Port Adelaide have 38. Is that right? They have 38 premierships. Is that what we're going to claim now?
Close to about, all right, yeah.
Yeah, so they have 38. So Port Adelaide have the most in the AFL now. Okay, that's what we're going to claim. That's fucking bullshit. Don't claim that. I think from the AFL era, as soon as one of the interstate, I think West Coast were the first team to come into the AFL, from interstate. As soon as West Coast join, that's where you start from now. You can claim that you have VFL premierships. That's fine. That's all well and good. But you can't claim that on top of your AFL premierships just to heighten your premiership tally.
Yeah.
I think that is ridiculous. And people saying, it was the hardest league at the time. It's like, that's just fucking bullshit. Whatever. I mean, you could make a claim that one of the best players who have ever played the game is Russell Ebert for Port Adelaide. He is highly regarded as one of the best players who ever played the game back then. And he played the majority of his games in the Sandful. So are you going to say that, some of the best players, because there were a lot of great players in the Sandful era, are you going to say that they've all claimed all them premierships? Are you going to go way back? Because I was looking at this for a new video that I'm making about the 20th club. East Fremantle have 30 premierships. Can the Fremantle Dockers claim 30 of them because they're technically around the area?
Yeah.
It just gets so convoluted. I've said that word so many times. I don't think I've ever said that in the podcast in 50-odd episodes. And I've said that word about 60 times today. So I'm sorry. But it's a new word of the day. I saw it on my calendar. Anyway, I don't think any club should now be claiming that onto their total tally.
No, because technically the AFL started in 1990.
Around that time, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly, but that seems
whenever the first team from South Melbourne established in Sydney, Brisbane, they went up to Brisbane, West Coast. You can probably claim until each state got one. Maybe even before that. But
I would even be fine if it's whatever the first club started around that came into the AFL.
Well, when they started saying it was the AFL, not the VFL anymore. That's when they started doing that. That's when they start the count.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. I think that when I think it was West Coast the first game, but even South Melbourne became Sydney in 1982. So that was quite before then. So I just think at this stage that I'm so sick of hearing these stupid arguments of like, oh, we've won 16 premierships. It's like, no, you haven't.
No.
All right, you want it in the VFL. You want it in the state league. Okay, that doesn't count. I'm so sick of hearing that. Like, fuck off. And I think it's Sydney Swans. They shouldn't be going even further back and claiming they have premierships. Like, fuck me. Sydney Swans, you have won 2. Great. That's cool. Port Adelaide, you have won 1. Cool. Collingwood, you have won whatever premierships you've won in that time. I think it's 3. That's all you've got. You don't get to claim the ones from 1950 when it was the VFL, bro. Not fucking... That is just so crap. I think that's just shit. Anyway. That's kind of all the news and sort of topics I want to talk about in today's podcast. So, of course, we will be getting to the tips for round 4. Of course, it is AFL Gather Round. I will just quickly say now as well, there won't be any streams this week for the Gather Round because we'll be going to the games. And I don't think the AFL would really like me commentating at the game. Don't know about the supporters really like
Well,
it.
it depends on who's commentating.
Yeah, to be fair, if Kelly Underwood's commentating, come down, sit with me, and give me a microphone, I'll commentate the game for you. Alright? But at this point, I don't think we'll be doing any streams this week. I was thinking maybe in the future, when Gather Rounds are here, we'll try and do like a live sort of preview to games. Like if we have like a Thursday off, maybe if we get big enough, we become a podcast and a channel, we can do this full time. We'll go down there on a Thursday afternoon and we'll just do a fucking full episode or something.
Yeah, we'll
just in front of our car.
Introduce ourselves to the players like as they walk.
Oh,
as they come in,
yeah. Before they get on the ground, we'll quickly quick run out there. Boys, how do you feel about the game this week? You know, there's someone annoying.
You mean the slow security guys saying, "What the fuck are you doing on the field?" It's like we'll just run past all them people.
Yeah, I think that'll be better. Anyway, let's get to the tips for round 4. So we start off Gather Round with Adelaide v Melbourne. Big game Thursday night. I have gone with Melbourne to start off Gather Round. After that, we've got Brisbane versus North Melbourne. I've picked Brisbane. Friday night, I've picked Port Adelaide over Essendon. Saturday afternoon, I've picked the Swans over the Eagles. Saturday evening, I've gone with a bit of a surprise pick. I've gone Fremantle over Carlton. Saturday night, I've gone Geelong over Western Bulldogs. Sunday afternoon, early game, I've picked the Giants over the Gold Coast. Sunday evening, Sunday mid-game, I've picked St Kilda over Richmond. And the last game of Gather Round, I've picked Collingwood over Hawthorn. So who have you gone with your tips this week?
I've went Melbourne over the Crows, Brisbane over North Melbourne, Port Adelaide over Essendon, Sydney over the Eagles, Fremantle over Carlton, Geelong over Bulldogs, Giants over the Gold Coast, the Saints over Richmond, and Collingwood over Hawthorn.
Okay, so surprisingly, we've gone with the same this week.
Yeah.
So let's start with the first game of Gather Round, the Crows versus Melbourne, and this is a big game for both teams. Melbourne, I would be surprised if they went back to Victoria.
No, they've confirmed that they're going to stay in Adelaide and they're going to do their training at West Adelaide.
Okay, so that's good to see. So Melbourne decided to stay here because obviously played Port Adelaide last week. They play the Crows to start off Gather Round. I think it's a little bit unfair that Port Adelaide didn't get the game this year to start off Gather Round. I thought that because the Crows had it last year as well. I thought Port Adelaide would get it this time. But anyway, doesn't matter. The Crows desperately need a win this week. They have not won a game so far. They lose this one, they're 0-4. And it's going to be really hard to see them making finals from there. They're at home, but I've still tipped Melbourne. You've done the same. Why have you gone for Melbourne?
I just think they look gelled as a team. And the forward line for the Crows is just so disjointed at the moment. And their midfield just aren't connecting with the forwards of the Crows. And they say Stephen may return. I don't know if he will. I know he's in Adelaide because he made the trip last week. But I just think that the Crows just look all at sea at the moment. They just can't do anything.
Yeah.
And for not kicking a goal for like 40 plus minutes, 50 plus minutes against the Freo, shows a lot for a team that was the highest scoring team last season.
Yeah.
And because it is at home, I still think it'll be a bit close as a game, but I just think Melbourne still have the strength over them.
Yeah, I've kind of gone a similar way. I think it will be a pretty close game. I picked Melbourne by 20 points. But Melbourne have looked good the last few weeks. I'll be interested to see if the Crows actually target Max Gawn, because I'm surprised not many teams have done it since the Swans did it in round 0, essentially. The Crows just can't get it inside forward 50 with any sort of effective disposal. They look terrible going forward. Taylor Walker's in pretty poor form, and he's had to in the last year and a bit. He's been in really good form for the Crows.
Yeah.
So when he shut down, Fogarty hasn't been able to deliver at all. Thilthorpe's obviously out. Burgess has honestly looked like one of their better tall forwards, which is not the best. Rankin's been shoved into the midfield every now and then, and he hasn't had an effectiveness up forward. So I'm interested to see how the Crows structure up at forward 50. But against the Demons' defence, which is looking pretty solid, especially if Stephen May comes back, I think Melbourne will be good enough to kick a winning score here. Yeah. That's why I've kind of gone on that side. Now, Friday night is Port Adelaide versus Essendon, another big game. I think the tipster choice here on the official AFL app has picked a 90% pick rate for Port Adelaide. I think this is going to be a very close game. I think Essendon are in with a bit of a chance here because I think if Essendon bring the effort and the defensive pressure that they brought against St Kilda in the second half, I think they'll give Port Adelaide a real shake here. I have gone Port Adelaide because I think at home they're going to be good enough here against Essendon. But Essendon won in Gather Round last year against Melbourne, and it was a bit of a shock. I just think Peter Wright out. I think they're going to struggle up forward. I think the Port Adelaide can hold up down in defence. I think the tall forwards of other clubs in the past have been able to take control of Port Adelaide.
Yeah.
And the fact that Peter Wright isn't there, I think they're going to struggle when they go forward. Kind of the real reason why I've picked Port here. I think they'll bounce back from last week against Melbourne. Yeah, against Melbourne, and I think they'll win this one by a couple of goals. I still think it'll be a close game though.
I've got Port Adelaide for not the opposite reason, but the other side of the coin. For the forward for Port Adelaide, we got Dixon, Todd Marshall. Georgiades played well in the SANFL last week. He may come in for Finlayson. I don't know yet. They might bring in the second ruckman just to stretch the defence of Essendon. And Essendon
Who have been playing two rucks themselves.
Yeah, and Essendon have always had a prone of the big bustling forward conceding a lot of goals. So I think that will work for him. And I think last week against Melbourne, Port Adelaide just lost it in the end. Near the end of the game, I just think that they're going to try and clean that up during the week, and Port Adelaide will show resilience in a way. And
Port Adelaide are a pretty big response team too.
Yeah, and if Asava Radiculaire does that again on the goal line, he should be dropped because that was utterly pathetic.
I don't think I mentioned this in the review, but there were 4 times in that game in Port Adelaide where they conceded goals because of mistakes made on the goal line.
Yeah,
I don't know if you saw. You didn't see the game.
I didn't see the game.
If you watch the game live, they actually made 3 or 4 mistakes on the goal line that could have saved goals. The Windsor goal late in the game, obviously the Radiculaire one as well. There was I think a Max Gawn goal that kicked that would have been touched on the line if Port Adelaide were paying attention. And there was another one, I believe, as well. So if Port Adelaide clean that up, they win that game.
Yeah.
So
they won every stat, so they should have won it in the end anyway.
Yeah, Port Adelaide, shot themselves in the foot a lot of times at stages in that one. Yeah. So, yeah. Now to probably the game, which I was surprised that you tipped differently. This is a bit of a, a bit of a surprise tip for both of us. Fremantle over Carlton. Now, I don't know if you believe... I think this may be the reason why you've tipped them as well. Carlton have a terrible record at Adelaide Oval.
Yeah, they've only won, I think.
They haven't won it.
I
don't think they have.
No. Yeah. And last year in Gather Round, they didn't show up against the Crows. So, do they not show up again?
I think that they'll show up. I just really like Fremantle's defence here.
Yeah.
Something, I'm going to talk to you about a little bit later. But Fremantle had a really good performance against the Crows. They kept them to 4 goals. Yes, the Crows didn't play that well at all. And their connection between midfield to forward for the Crows wasn't very good. But Fremantle looked like they can finally find a way to score here. And I think Fremantle also have a good duo to go against Mackay and Curnow here. I think that's a really big chance. I think they're one of the few teams that can cover both of them. And I just think that Carlton's record here is pretty dismal. So that's kind of the reason why I've gone for Fremantle. They don't have the better record. They don't have that good a record here either. But I just think Fremantle are in some really good form at the moment, hence why I've gone for them here. Why have you gone for them?
A bit of the defence as well. That they do have a better defence. I think they do line up well against Carlton. I just went with the smalls for this game. I don't think the small forwards for Carlton can be there for him. I think that with the fact that it's going to be Alex Pearce and probably Luke Ryan that go to Curnow and Mackay.
Yeah.
Who's going to be the one that's going to score the goals if they don't score? Because last week they kicked 9 goals against North Melbourne combined.
Yeah.
And who's going to do it if they don't do it? Matt Owies
had a pretty good performance against North Melbourne. But, yeah, I think that they're going to have to get a lot of goals from their midfielders.
And, yeah, are they going to be able to get a winning score against them? And I think that the small forwards for the Freo have performed okay so far this season.
I've liked Michael Walters so far this season.
Yeah.
Despite him kicking 5 or something against the Crows.
Yeah, if he kicked straight, it would have been easy 7 goals, easy.
Yeah, 6 or 7 goal performance. He's deserved that too. He had missed a couple of really easy opportunities.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I kind of see your point as well. And then to the last game I want to talk about is St Kilda v Richmond. Interesting game, this one. I think Richmond, if they can bring the pressure they did against the Swans, they'll win this game.
Yeah.
We saw that against Essendon that they capitulated under the pressure. So this is at Norwood Oval, so I'm very surprised because Richmond have a very big fan base.
Yeah.
But they were a pretty poor team last year, so I kind of get that. But this will be a very interesting contest between these two sides. Would not be surprised if Richmond can win this one. I've picked St Kilda though because I just think that they're the better team here. I don't know if Richmond can back up that performance against the Swans because I think Richmond played out of their skin against Sydney. Not to say Sydney played that well, but Richmond, their pressure for the majority of the second half was above 200. That is really good from them. I don't know if they can back that up, which is why I've kind of gone St Kilda here.
Yeah, I've kind of went the same way. I just think that they line up better, this St Kilda midfield, compared to this midfield of Richmond.
Yep.
I just think they're a bit more experience with Steele, Sinclair, and the likes around them with Rowan Marshall. I just think that that's where it's going to be won easily.
All right, well, that's the tips basically
Can we talk about one more game?
All right, yeah.
Can we talk about the Swans West Coast game? Do you think they're going to kick 200 points again this year on that ground?
No, I think that West Coast will come back. I don't think they'll let that happen. But I will say West Coast have been the worst team of the year so far, by far. By a margin.
By a margin they have been.
Well, look, you look at the Crows, you look at the Crows have performed pretty poorly at the start this year. Hawthorn haven't started as well as I thought they would have. I thought they would have been competitive in their first couple of games. Maybe they played well against Geelong today, I don't know. But West Coast have looked the worst team by a margin.
And I'm sick of the fact that kid looks good. That kid looked good. But what about the experienced players? Besides Elliot Yeo, no one else is actually doing anything at the moment, really.
Him and McGovern are the only two experienced players that I've put my hat on so far as like decent playing. They've been playing decently. And let's be honest, Elliot Yeo's like a new recruit. He hasn't played the last 2 years. And the same thing goes for McGovern.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's kind of the look at for the tips, guys. Quickly looking at the league, I just want to bring this up because I thought it was funny. You're right down the bottom. You're not really doing very well for us, Jack. I'm really disappointed in your effort so far.
Well, I tried to go through some roughies and they both shit the bed. But
yeah, well, I've done pretty well this week. I've got 4. A couple of people in the league have got 4 so far. Obviously, if Geelong go and win today, most people should have 5. I'll be very surprised if anyone tipped Hawthorn. But nonetheless, at the moment, the current leader by 2 votes, or 2 tips, is Brandon S. Congratulations, man. I saw you in the stream a couple in the week, so congratulations. You're in front at the moment by 2 tips. That's it's a pretty good lead to start off the season in round 4, or 3. You are currently leading in the AFL tipping comp for the league, and of course, if he goes on to win it, he will win a $125 gift voucher to the AFL store, along with an A3 print of his choice from our very own design company, BR Designs. And while we're here already, quick little segue. If you haven't checked out our very own AFL print design business or company, whatever you want to call it, BR Designs is a link down below. We have designs for every single team from GWS to Collingwood. Love the line. You love it too. I can see it on your face. We have designs for every single team, so make sure you go check them out. I've made a couple of designs already for the next drop. You saw them. You thought they were pretty good. Got a couple of designs. I think I'm going to drop 2 for each team. I think I can do it with that sort of design. I know you had your opinions on them, but you loved them both, didn't you?
Yeah.
You loved them. They were the fucking best thing you've ever seen.
They were the best thing you've ever seen.
I thought so too.
Yeah.
And I'm not even biased on saying that. So if you guys want to go check that out, the link is down below. If you use the code BRPOD, you will get 10% off your purchase as well. So make sure to go check it out, guys. And let's move on to our AFL Fantasy Breakdown. Now, at the moment, it's a little bit difficult because the round hasn't technically finished. I can kind of look at it because I don't have a player in this next game. And I'm really unsure if I've won the league. It's hard to tell because the AFL Fantasy app is fucking dismal. I'm going to be fucking honest. It fucking sucks.
Yeah.
But at this stage, I think I've won. I am not too sure. I'm up by 90 points currently, but it's hard to tell if his scores have been taken away just yet, or if mine have been. They haven't.
No.
So I don't know. We're going to see what happens. I'm in the front at the moment. Probably me saying that we've won. I probably jinxed it. I probably lost anyway. A couple of big players for me this week. Harry Sheezel, 126, good performance. Hayden Young with 129, good performance. Elliot Yeo with the 108, good performance. Matt Roberts, 94, as a sub, basically, good performance. Nick Martin with 145, good on you. Riley Bonner, I don't care if he turned it over 17 times, bro. You got 127, love you. And Max Gorn, 146. Couple of really high scores on my team. Couple of low ones, mostly the rookies. Windsor with 38, Wilson with 35, Reed with 43, Lazaro with 55. Yeah, look, I'm not really expecting much from them. Davies Uniacke, I was pretty disappointed in. He only got 77. He only had 29 at half time, so I will give him a little bit of a reprieve that he was able to recover it pretty convincingly, pretty well. And Howes as well. Interesting, he didn't have a very good game. He only got 23. I think you mentioned it before we went live on the recording. He was playing on someone this week, so he kind of struggled to score. And Zach Williams only got 60, so I was a bit disappointed by that. I'll try to get him out of the team, but we'll just have to wait and see on that front. Looking at it at this point, I've got my trades kind of ready to go on my phone. So I haven't done these yet, and I tend to make different trades every the end of the week anyway. So take this one with a grain of salt. But at this stage, I'm planning to do these two trades. My first trade is Jackson Mead out and Tom Powell in. And my other trade is I'm thinking he'll get his debut. So Zach Reed will go out and Showen Maker will come in. I think with the amount of turnovers that Riley Bonner made, I think he will still be in the team because I still think that he had a lot of influence on the game despite him making 17 turnovers. But I do think that Showen Maker is a really good kick of the footy. He's shown that in a couple of preseason games that he played, and he's had a pretty good VFL start to these at St Kilda. So I think he'll come in as a debut, but that's kind of a placemaker at this stage. Anyone that's around 200k gets his debut this week will probably come in for Zach Reed. And then, Tom Powell's coming in for me. I think he's done really well to start his season for North. And Jackson Mead, he could have done a little bit better. He got 52 at halftime for Port Adelaide and then just dropped off the face of the earth, only got 69. Now, nice score. Funny. But maybe score a little bit more than me for me, bro. So, Tom Powell will come in for that. And that's basically going to be my trades for this week. And haven't really thought about captain, vice-captain at this stage. Maybe. I don't think I'll go with against West Coast this week. Bontempelli was lucky to get 103 in the end. He kicked 3 goals. Yeah. So I don't know how he's going to go this year. He's had a pretty poor start, I'm going to be honest. I'll be looking at it throughout the rest of the round to see who's going to go captain, vice. Maybe I'll put vice on Harry Sheezel to see what happens because they play on Friday afternoon. But we'll kind of be a wait and see on that one, guys. And then we'll basically look at your team now, Jack. So you've got one more player to play.
Yeah, so I've got D'Ambrosio. So I'm looking for a good 75, 80. He's been averaging 95, so hopefully he gets that score. I've had a shit week. All the players as you mentioned, Howes, Reed, Windsor, Lazaro, Wilson, all shit scores.
Yeah, my forward line didn't do very well. I didn't have a score above 70 in my forward line.
Yeah, I luckily bought in Tom Powell last week. He scored 103. Zach Fisher, shit score of 76. James Jordan, score of 60.
You take 76 this week with the forward lines. I don't think you take very much.
Yeah, besides if you had Isaac Heaney, pretty much everyone else scored.
True.
So...
Who was the other player you brought in this week that had a poor performance? I think there was one you were mentioning to me before. There was a 60-odd or something.
Yeah, Salem. I bought Salem in because I needed someone around that was averaging a good score, and then he decided to pull out a 52 against Port Adelaide. So
yeah. I thought you had a better performance than that watching the game. But we only care about the AFL fantasy here, guys.
Yeah, and then Zach Butters decided to get a 79. I thought, I'll be
he was a bit down in that game. I was happy because the person I'm playing had him, so I was happy.
So this week, besides some of the good rookies like Sanders, Roberts, McKercher, they scored pretty well. Luckily I took the score from Sheezel as a VC. I kind of wish I didn't stupidly went with Gorn. I wish I went with Gorn, but
yeah, I did too. But I was happy to get. I wanted. Luckily, Bontempelli got added an extra tackle to get him over the 100 breaker to get over 100. Luckily, but
did you captain him?
I captained Bontempelli because he's playing West Coast. I was like, all right, he's gonna score. Sure. Yeah. And he kicked 3 goals. Luckily, he got 100. But anyway, what are your trades? What are you looking at for trades this week?
I think I'm going to have to go some downgrades, 2 downgrades this week because I think after the gather round, you'll see most of them will get to their break evens. So I'm gonna look at getting rid of Darcy Wilson after a 35 and possibly Charlie Dean, because I'm gonna try and get Showmaker.
So you tried to make that last week, but obviously had to change it. So you're trying to get rid of him this week for Showmaker.
Yeah.
I'm expecting him to play.
Yeah.
I just think that with the loss as well, they're going to make some changes.
I was either going to get rid of him or Jai Clark, and I was just going to look at that and get maybe Riley Bonner in my midfield. But I just don't know. After having so many turnovers in that match, it's a very big risk. And
I don't feel like Ross Lyon's a real AFL fantasy watcher. Just a feeling.
It's just a feeling, yeah. But also, it seems like if Bonner plays well, Wanganeen Millera doesn't play well, and it's vice versa.
Yeah, because Millera didn't do that well in that game.
Yeah, and then last week he pulls out 140 and Riley Bonner gets a 60. It's like, it just seems like they're playing the same role, but it's whoever wants to...
Whoever they deliver it to more.
Yeah.
Is what, it's kind of like which wing do they go down,
yeah,
is what they're thinking about.
I think Ross Lyon will probably get to the players and say, kick it to Millera.
Go the other way, boys.
He's not going to turn it over.
Yeah, to be fair, I think he had a really good performance against Collingwood. Didn't really touch it against Essendon, which may have cost them with 17 turnovers. I mean, Bonner had, he had 32 touches, 29 kicks, so over half his turnovers were, over half his touches were turnovers. So, yeah, I think that'll be interesting. So you're looking Showmaker and then another downgrade as well at this stage.
Yeah, because...
Alright.
It's a shit week. I'm definitely going to lose. I'm definitely going to lose.
You don't think you'll get lucky?
No.
You're approved. Alright. So looking at the moment on the ladder, it's kind of hard to look at right now, but looking at the league right now, we're seeing Shillingsford Billings is still on top. He's leading with the 2 wins, and I'll have a look if he's currently winning his game. He is currently winning his game by 40 points. So a close game for him. May not be on top by the end of the round. I think, like you said, the points don't get taken away until right when they do the lockout change.
Yeah.
So, you can add your trades again. So I don't think this will be the same. I'm currently 15th. I really hope I fucking win so I can get back into a bit of movement here. Because if I lose 3 in a row, like the Crows, I'm in a deep shit right now. So hopefully for my case, I can get a win here, break myself back in front. But at the moment, Shillingsford Billings is on top. Congratulations, mate. Same rewards for if you win the AFL Fantasy League. Like if you win the tipping comp, you will win $125 gift voucher to the AFL store, as well as a free A3 print of your choice from BR Designs. So that's really the AFL look at, or the AFL Fantasy and AFL tipping breakdown and that for the week that's passed. So, of course, we get to our favourite segment of the podcast. I don't know if you know who's going to get it this week, but it is the Flog of the Week. Woo! Oh, yeah. Thank God you joined in with me this week. I felt like I was a bit crazy. So, of course, the Flog of the Week basically goes to the biggest flog we've seen over the week. I was thinking maybe giving it to the guy who did the Eddie Bet stuff. This is a lot more of a joking segment, and that's no joke, the Eddie Bet stuff. So, that's why that guy hasn't won it. So, it's a little bit more of a joke this week. But... as I have said before, no one is out of the limelight when it comes to being a nominee.
I know who this is going to this week.
This has been something that I heard last week on the podcast that I was shunned at. I was shocked when you said this. And the nominee for this week, for the Flog of the Week, is
me,
my co-host. Jack. Do you know what it's about?
Yes, I do. I remember the comment because I was stupidly... It's kind of why I didn't want to tip Freo this week. It's kind of what I didn't want to do.
First of all, what happened last week if you missed it? My brother made an insane call. I don't know where this came from. I think he was off his meds. I don't know what the fuck happened. But last week, you made the insane claim to say that Alex Pearce is not a good defender.
Well, he must have heard me because he played well against the Crows.
What do you mean he wasn't a good defender? Yeah, so anyway... I'll put the clip on for the TikTok or whatever. But basically, my brother said Alex Pearce isn't a very good defender. Now, I don't know what you were smoking, but clearly that wasn't the right call because he kept Taylor Walker goalless and was basically the best player on the ground for the Dockers on the weekend.
To be honest, I thought he was.
You don't watch enough Fremantle.
No, it was to be honest, it was the first game I saw of Fremantle this season. It was the Crows game.
He's been a good defender for a while now, so I don't know how you came up with that. But anyway... that has to go to you this week.
Yeah, I could see it's coming, actually.
There are a couple of... I was going to give it to the umpiring, but I felt like you can't really give it to the whole umpiring department, a whole nominee.
Well, I'm pretty sure you could.
So I had to give it to an individual, and it had to be you, because your call on calling Alex Pearce a bad defender was a shocker, and I had to hold that one all week.
Yeah.
I kept on thinking about it. I was mewing over it. I was like, can I give it to the co-host? You know, he's here every week. He does his best. But that call has to be called out. And if I make a dumb call like that, you need to remember it and call me out on it.
Yeah.
All right? If you call that out, I feel like I haven't made that big a call so far, but that's a fucking big call. And he must have heard it. Alex Pierce must be a big fan. So shout out to you, Alex. We love you. And I think you're a good defender. My brother's coming around to you. But that was a shocking call. And so the nominee for the Flog of the Week in round 4, episode 57, is my brother Jack, co-host of the podcast. And I feel like you need to issue an apology because that was a pretty bad call.
Yeah, I do apologise because after that game against the Crows, I think
You're coming around to it?
I was watching the game, I was like, what the fuck did I just say that?
Yeah. Do you think he's a bad defender?
No.
So you think you just kind of said
Yeah,
something?
I was trying to make a justification for why I took the Crows this week.
Yeah.
Last
May have been a
week,
bad call.
yeah.
Anyway, if you don't know, guys, we make these call like the Flog of the Week nominee. It will be made every single week on the podcast. We try to cut up into a clip or something. But at the end of the year, towards the I think it'll be the bye between the bye of the season ending and the final starting. We'll be doing the live count of the Boundary Riders votes for the Boundary Riders medal. We do that on the review, obviously, no longer on the podcast. But we will be doing a couple of like segments throughout the evening of the live stream, and we'll be picking the nominee. We'll probably pick the Flog of the Year. I think what we're going to do, we're trying to think about it, is we'll be both making a nomination of like who we think deserves the Flog of the Year, and then maybe you guys or what I don't know. We'll see who's picking it, but you guys will be like the tiebreaker for who will be the Flog of the Year this year. I think it's a pretty safe bet. If you guys like that idea, let us know. But basically, my brother Jack, the co-host, is our nominee for the Flog of the Week this week. And now, guys, just before we move into our World Sports segment, of course, we do have a Patreon that we like to plug every single week. If you guys want to join the Patreon, it's only about $5 a month. It is linked down below. You get a bunch of exclusive perks as well. Unfortunately, there will be no nudes at this stage. Although if we do get a little bit desperate, maybe we'll think about it. But if you guys want to join, you will get a bunch of perks, which include early access to this podcast. We also do early access to a bunch of videos and our little mini docos that we do on this channel. I think we've already got one ready to go, which is going to go out in a couple of weeks, but you can watch that right now. And we've got another one in the works about the 20th AFL team. So if you that will be that'll be posted there before anyone else can see it. So you can check that out. You also get a 15% discount code on our AFL prints for BR Designs, which is only exclusive to Patreon members. So if that sounds cool to you, and any of that stuff interests you, then make sure to click the link down below. And you also get access to our live streams for our other podcast, the Twinners podcast. If you don't want to join the Patreon, but you want to listen to our Twinners podcast and see what it's like, we do have a YouTube channel for it. So that's linked down below as well. But if you do want to watch that, you want to see the live streams of it, and you get early access to that to that podcast or any other exclusive perks that sound cool to you, then link down below and make sure to go check that out. But if that doesn't interest you and you just like this podcast, well, let's move into World Sport, because we actually do have a World Sport segment this week. Last week, there wasn't much to talk about, I'll be honest with you.
No. And
there wasn't much that I had recorded. So before we move into the soccer stuff that we usually talk about, the cricket, the test summer for Australia has been announced, and when the games will be happening, the test series will be going up against India. And for the first time in quite a while, there'll be 5 tests. I think that's pretty cool. So the first test will be in Perth, and it will be running in November 22nd to the 26th. The second test in Adelaide will be between the 6th and the 10th of December. That will be a day-nighter as well, so that'll be cool. The third test will be at the Gabba on the 14th to the 18th of December. And the fourth test, the traditional Boxing Day test, will be the 26th to the 30th of December. And the last test of that series will be in Sydney between the 3rd and the 7th of January. So usually they do have only a 4-test series for these two.
So it's the first time since '92 that they just have a 5-match.
Yeah, because we only usually have 5-match series against England, obviously, for the Ashes.
Yeah.
So I think it's actually good, because we're actually playing because I think what they've noticed is they're not going to fill up crowds if they play against anyone other than India or England.
Yeah.
So they're like, all right, we've got to find another way. So let's just put a bunch of teams against. Let's just play an extra test against a country where we know we're going to make.
Yeah. I think it's also that the fact is that the last couple series against India, it's been 1-1. But yeah, about 1-1. So
Okay. Yeah, well, that's all right as well. And who the fuck knows how the weather will go, but it's been interesting because the last few years we've obviously had the summer start a little bit later. So,
yes.
the season. So it'll be interesting to see if hopefully we can get a full test series of games without having to deal with fucking rain.
Yeah.
Although I don't really like the 45-degree days, let's put it out there anyway. Let's move into the soccer stuff because that's what we really talk about majority of the year when we talk about world sport, except when the NFL season's on. But before we get into the Premier League, the Euro fixture has been announced. So the final draw for the tournament, so the group stage of it, I can't remember when it's going to start though. It starts in a few months though.
So it's in
June.
June.
Yeah, it just starts after the Premier League season basically. And the group stage has been announced. So looking at the group stage right now, I'll quickly read it out. The A group is Germany, Hungary, Scotland, Switzerland. Pretty tough group if I'm being honest, in the A group. So, I mean, Germany probably topped that. But Switzerland or Hungary...
So whoever's going to come in second is going to be interesting for that group.
You would probably bank favourite for second is Switzerland. But, Hungary have some good players and so does Scotland. So
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Scotland's on a good run at the moment. I wouldn't be surprised if Scotland make it.
Yeah. Next one is Group B, Spain, Albania, Croatia, and Italy. That's a tough group.
Yeah, that's
Albania will be gone. Let's just crush them.
Yeah, you think so.
Croatia have some good players. They always do well in the World Cup.
Yeah.
And Italy, they haven't done
much in the couple of years. So.
Yeah, we'll have to see how they go. Spain, interesting how they go as well. Group C is England, Denmark, Slovenia, and Serbia. I think that's pretty
just guarantee England top spot.
Yeah, and Denmark probably locked down second, you would say.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Obviously, there can be some upsets. We've seen a lot of upsets in these sort of group tournaments in the past. For Group D, they've got France, Austria, Netherlands, and Poland. Interesting group, that one. France, you would think top it, but Netherlands and Poland, and even Austria to an extent. It'd be very interesting to see who gets second spot.
Netherlands are nearly at the end of they've done nothing with a generation team, really. A good generation team with Van Dijk.
I mean, they're not as bad as Belgium.
no, but they're a team that's probably lost, that's going to lose a lot of experience in the next couple of years. And they have a good team, so they might want to... I think they will finish second, though.
Yeah. I mean, Poland have a couple of good players like Szczesny and obviously Lewandowski, but
that's it.
That's pretty much at the moment. Yeah. Going to Group E, Belgium, Romania, Slovakia, and Ukraine. Belgium, you would think top that group.
Yeah.
It's going to be, I would probably say Ukraine goes second, but that'll be interesting. Ukraine have a couple of good players.
I think Slovakia will get
Slovakia,
second.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe. The nice story would be Ukraine, but I don't think they can do it.
And then the last group is Group F, Portugal, Turkey, Czech Republic, and Georgia. Good to see Georgia make the Euros. Obviously, they have a couple of good, decent players.
Yeah.
One for Napoli, the big name that I can't pronounce, but he's a very good player.
So very much Portugal will definitely get there, and probably say Czech Republic.
Yeah, I'd probably say that, but even Turkey have some decent players. But that's probably it. It's an interesting look at the Euros. Who would you say is the favourite right now? If you had to pick a team, do you think England can...
No.
Who would you say is the
I'd go France.
France, yeah. I'll go with... Oh, it's a tough one. I don't want to say France, because I feel like they are the top favourite. But I feel like they're going to be hard to beat. I just think that France are going to be very hard to beat going up. Yeah, and I think, obviously the World Cup was Argentina and France as well. So I feel like France are a step above a lot of European teams at the moment.
Yeah.
But, of course, a little upset could happen. Anyway, let's move to our Premier League breakdown. And, of course, big weekend in the Premier League, especially today when we're recording. Liverpool were able to break to a 2-point lead after a big win against Brighton and the 0-0 draw between Arsenal and Manchester City. Quickly looking at the results, though. We'll quickly go over them before we move into the look at the upcoming games. Like I said, City and Arsenal played out a 0-0 draw. Liverpool won 2-1 over Brighton. Brentford and Manchester United 1-0 draw. Very close, though. Brentford had some chances to win that game. Yeah, they did. Aston Villa won 2-0 over Wolves. Tottenham won 2-1 over Luton Town, despite Luton going in front early. Sheffield United played out a 3-3 draw against Fulham, despite Sheffield United dominating about 60-70 minutes of this game. Nottingham Forest and Crystal Palace played out a 1-1 draw. Very interesting as well. Chelsea just fucking fall to a bum. a 2-2 draw against Burnley at home. That's fucking embarrassing. Anyway, Bournemouth won 2-1 against Everton. Newcastle United won 4-3 over West Ham United. Big game, 4-3. And yeah, that's basically the round that we've just had. And then we move to the table. So right now, there's still 9 games to go, heaps of time. But Liverpool take a 2-point lead with 67 points on the board. Arsenal are on 65 points, and Manchester City are on 64 points. So big couple of 9 games to go. Mm-hmm. You have mentioned a lot of times that Liverpool have the best run, but City are obviously, you still think they were the favourite at the time. So Aston Villa are 59 points at the moment in 4th spot. Tottenham are in 5th spot with 56, and Manchester United are next up with 48, so 8 points off the pace of Europa League football. Looking back down at the relegation zone, Brentford are on 27 points in 15th spot. Everton are in 25 points. Nottingham Forest get themselves out of the relegation zone with that draw on 22 points. Luton Town back in there with 22 points as well. Burnley are on 18 points, and Sheffield United are on 15 points. That would have been a big 3 points for Sheffield United to get too.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say they'd be able to get out of it, but yeah, very disappointing for them to not be able to somehow break a point out of that. So Nottingham Forest obviously have that point deduction they got last week, which was -4. They were able to get a draw in the game before, so they're out of the relegation zone for the moment. It's still going to be really... I mean, obviously, the Nottingham Forest, they could even get more coming up. I don't think that will be the case, but it could even happen. Who the hell knows? I think now it's kind of... We've kind of seen all the points being deducted and all that sort of stuff. Surely that's it.
I think this late in the season, I think the FA won't do anything now. Yeah. They're not going to put more points on deducted and shit like that. It's too late in the season to do it now. I think if they do it now, it pretty much puts the team back in.
Well, it's interesting because they've mentioned the fact that they could even get points deducted or whatever. Like even Leicester back in the Championship have been talked about point deductions. We'll talk about the Championship in a minute because that title race has gone on its head. I don't know if you've kept too much in contact with that.
No.
But at the moment, the 3 relegated teams right now, at this point, I think it's going to be very hard for another team to get relegated other than Luton Town, Burnley, and Sheffield United. Burnley have got into some not good form, but they've broken into some decent form as of late.
Well, because they got the draw against Chelsea. Trust me, it's not that hard.
Yes, yeah, but they've got 5 points from their last 3 games, so that's pretty decent. They've drawn, win, draw, so they're doing their best to try and fight back. Sheffield United have got 2 draws out of their last 2 games, so they're still got the worst form, but they've at least got some points out of it.
Yeah.
Right now, it's very interesting because looking at the form ladder here, I don't know how the fuck. So Chelsea right now, because they haven't lost a game in the last 5, they're actually got a decent form, but they've gone win, draw, draw, win, draw.
Well, no losses.
No losses, exactly. Woo! Go Chelsea. Anyway, the top 3. It's funnily enough, the top 3 best form teams are the top 3 currently. Fulham are actually a decent form as well. They've won 3 of their past 5. And so are Bournemouth. Interesting. They've got a win from their last 3 of their past 4 games and a draw in between. So that's a pretty good look at it. Looking at the fixture going ahead for next week, though. So there's a couple of games in the midweek. We have Newcastle versus Everton, Nottingham versus Fulham, Bournemouth versus Crystal Palace, Burnley versus Wolves, and West Ham versus Tottenham. And on Thursday, we have Arsenal versus Luton Town. You'd think Arsenal will get a win there. Brentford versus Brighton. Manchester City versus Aston Villa. That's a big game.
That's at the Etihad, though, isn't it?
It is at the Etihad, but yeah, it's still a big game. Liverpool will play Sheffield United. Surely they win that. And Chelsea play Manchester United. Yeah, knock on wood quickly. Chelsea versus Manchester United, big game as well. That's basically the games throughout the week, and then that will just go straight through to the weekend as well with some big games as well. So, right now, big call on the Premier League. It sits at this point, the Liverpool lead by 2 points. Do you think they can win it from here?
I'm going to be an optimist, and I'm going to say yes.
You think they're going to?
Yeah, Liverpool's going to win the title. I'm going to eat those words.
It's the first time you've made that call too. You've been
I'm
saying
going to eat those words. I know it.
Big call, but they are in front at the moment, so still heaps of time to go. We'll see how that plays out. Now, before we end the podcast, I really want to talk about the Championship because right now that's been turned on its head. Now, the last few times we have looked at the Championship, Leicester City have been leading it by 10, 15 points for the majority of it. They've just had a huge lead on everyone.
Yeah.
They have actually lost that lead. They are now in 3rd spot. Ipswich Town currently take the lead in the Championship with 64 points. There are still, how many games to go? There are 23 games, 46. So there are currently 7 games to go in the season. And Ipswich have the lead by 1 point over Leeds and 2 points over Leicester. Very interesting look. Looking at the form guide right now, Leicester in a heap of shit form. They have lost 3 of their past 5 games, only 1 win as well. And they've just hit a roadblock, and right now they're out of an automatic promotion, which is shocking to say. When the start of, what was it, 2 months ago or something, maybe even a month ago, we were saying that they were basically automatic promotion straight away, and now they've dropped their bundle basically. I would love to see Ipswich make it. I want to see them automatically promote, because they were over 12 months, not even 18 months ago, they were actually in League One, and they've gone double promotion here. So they've also got an Australian in Massimo Luongo, so that's always good. We'd love to see an Aussie go up. Right now, I think it's going to be very difficult for Leicester to regain their form. They're not in good form at all. 1 win from 5 games.
It's not the time you want to lose your form.
Yeah, exactly. And looking at Ipswich, they're in decent form. I think they've won they've won 4 of their past 5 games, so they're in really good form. Leeds have won 3 of their past 5, but haven't lost a game. And looking at Southampton, they have won 2 of their past 5 games. So a lot of teams around them, Leeds are in good form, but the other teams around them aren't in the best.
Yeah.
So, very interesting look at it. I think at the moment, I would like to say Ipswich make it. Leicester do have a game in hand, and Southampton have 2 games in hand compared to Ipswich and Leeds. So if they get 2 wins, Southampton, they're right back in the race. They're back to 80 points. But if they don't, they're 74 currently. They'll be stuck right back in the pack.
Yeah.
And you really don't want to go up in the playoffs, really.
No, yeah. You don't want to leave that up to fate.
Yeah. So looking at the ladder right now, Ipswich are up on top in the championship with 84 points. Leeds are 83 points in second spot. Leicester are in 82 points with 1 game in hand in third. Southampton are on 74 points with 2 games in hand from the top teams. And then we have West Brom in 5th spot with 67, Norwich with 64, Coventry with 60, Preston with 59, and then Hull City with 58 at 9th spot. So right now, I would really love to see Preston and Coventry somehow get through.
Yeah.
I would love to see an Ipswich, Preston, and Coventry promotion. That would be awesome. I don't think that's going to happen though. It looks like at this stage, Leeds will probably get automatically promoted. I think they've got the team to get up. Leicester, I would have said they would be automatically promoted. They should be with the team that they've got, but they've just hit a fucking roadblock.
Yeah.
And it's going to be very hard to get out of it. Right now, looking at their fixture going forward as well, they've got Norwich next game, which is a massive game because Norwich are in really good form. Then they play Birmingham, they should win, Millwall, Plymouth, Argyle, and West Brom. And then the way they finish as well, Southampton, Preston, and Blackburn, pretty tough last 3 games too. So Leicester are going to struggle to get the automatic promotion now. Leeds are sitting in a pretty good spot. I think they'll probably automatically promote. And looking at the next few games for Ipswich, they've got Southampton, Norwich, Watford, Middlesbrough, and then Hull City. So teams right around them. And to end the season, they've got Coventry and Huddersfield Town. So the rest of their games, other than Huddersfield in the last game, are teams right around them. So a tough run for Ipswich. I really hope they make it because you'd love to see the underdog story. That's kind of the Australian way. You want to see the underdog get through. Right now, if you had to pick a couple of... who do you think will be let's say 3 teams. Who do you think will get promoted?
I think Leeds do.
Yeah.
I think Southampton do.
Okay.
And let's go. I think Ipswich do in the end, but I don't think they'll. To be honest, I don't think Ipswich automatically qualify.
So you think right now that Leicester are the team that's going to miss?
Yeah, it's the time you don't want to lose your momentum.
Yeah, and lose your form. And they've also got some point deduction headaches as well that could happen. Who the fuck knows at this point? At this point, looking at it though, currently no team in the championship has got a point deduction, so they may get imagine. See, this is the thing as well that people have talked about. That if you give a team a point deduction after the season, what happens there?
Yeah, it's not really fair that they get the point deduction and say they don't
think they're going to be promoted or think they're not going to be promoted, and then they get the promotion back. Like they've said that, like if a Nottingham or an Everton lose more points after the season, does that mean Luton go back up, or does that mean they go back down?
Or do they start the season with a point deduction? It doesn't seem really fair for, say, a Luton Town, who, if say Nottingham lose another 4 more points.
They've also talked as well about Everton losing their points. Is it unfair for the team that finished 18th last season? Because Everton got because they did all their breaches, like a lot of their breaches last season.
Yeah.
So is that fair enough that they didn't get relegated, Everton? I don't know. That's just another talking point that, you know, maybe the soccer podcast probably go into a lot more in depth because they probably know. We just see the point deductions and think it's funny that it sets up for an interesting relegation battle. Yeah. Anyway, that's pretty much all we've got for you in today's episode of the Boundary Riders podcast, guys. Thank you for watching or listening. If you did listen to it on Spotify, make sure to leave us 5 stars, you dogs. I've seen there's people listening to it over on Spotify and they're not leaving 5 stars. So you leave 5 stars, you absolute legend if you drop it. Dog if you don't. If you don't want, if it's too hard to bloody click 5 stars on this podcast, then make sure to leave us a follow as well, because you will be notified not only on this podcast, but you will also be notified on the reviews, because we are putting them out on Spotify as well. So the reviews and the podcast, you get 2 things to listen to every single week on the drive home, on the drive to work and the drive home. That's basically over nearly 2 hours worth of content that you can listen to. So make sure to follow and leave 5 stars. And if you are watching on YouTube, make sure to leave a like. Make sure to subscribe. Thank you for 500 subs. We actually hit it this week, so congratulations to us. Thank you. Good job. Yeah. Good job. Good job. And I've seen a lot of support on the commentary posts we've been making recently. So on TikTok as well, we've been getting a few followers. We've got 62 followers now, so congratulations. I don't know. But yeah, thank you for all the support, guys, we've had recently. Still pushing towards 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so hopefully we can hit that. But thank you for listening. Thank you for watching today, and we'll catch you all next week.
See you later, guys.